What if everything you've been dreaming about isn't on the other side of you feeling more confident? What if it's on the other side of doing the thing that you're afraid of? Because if you look back at almost every moment that changed your life, there was likely fear standing at the entrance. Welcome to the Inner Launch, where we explore the small shifts on the inside that can transform the life that you create on the outside. This is the podcast where we create your next chapter from the inside out. I'm your host, Christina Volkovich, and today we're talking about fear. And not because it's something that we think we need to eliminate, but because a lot of us have handed over the wheel to our fear. A lot of us may not realize that anytime we have a big decision, it often gets filtered through this one question of what if it doesn't work, instead of what if it does. So many of us take fear as a sign to stop. But what if fear is actually telling you that you're just afraid because it's something out of your comfort zone? Your nervous system is designed to protect you from anything that's not normal. So anything outside of your comfort zone may not be normal to you. So fear's going to say, hey, wait, let's not do that. But what if we stopped listening to that fear that's controlling us? The fear that's driving us. Fear can often keep us stuck in relationships, in jobs, in situations that we just don't like. And why? It's because we're afraid to step out of that comfort zone because we think we may fail. It may not work. But what if we started saying, what if it does work? What is the best possible outcome that can happen from me doing this? And then we focus on that and we let that be the fuel that drives us rather than the fear that drives us to stay. If you think about every version of you that changed your life, maybe the version that got a new job, maybe the version that moved away, maybe the version that got a new relationship, or any of the other goals that you've wanted for so long. Maybe it's even something as simple as walking into therapy or spoke up. Every one of those versions of you had something in common. They were scared. You're never confident the first time you do something. You always have that fear in the back of your gut that it may not work. But when you do it, you're teaching yourself to become confident through the action of trying. Every time you survive something that you were afraid of, you teach yourself that you can handle more than you thought. And that is exactly where the real confidence begins. Fear is not a predicted discomfort. And that is a very important statement to make right now, because there is a very important difference. Fear says, what if I fail? What if people judge me? What if it doesn't work? But when has fear actually been able to tell the future? It never has. It's only ever been there to try and protect you from discomfort. But the problem is, growth is uncomfortable. Meaningful lives are uncomfortable. Authentic lives are uncomfortable. So if your goal is to avoid the discomfort, you're actually avoiding growth as well. Most people think that courage is expensive. But I actually think that avoidance is even more expensive. Avoiding a conversation can cost relationships. Avoiding the application can cost opportunities. Avoiding business can cost you years. Avoiding the dream costs you your future. Yes, emphasis on future. Because if you are avoiding that dream, you're avoiding your future. Fear always asks for some type of payment. The only question then becomes, Would you rather pay in temporary discomfort now? Or would you rather pay with lifelong regrets? I know, sounds very doom and gloom right now, but doesn't even necessarily have to be a lifelong regret. Sometimes you leaning into the fear instead of to the faith side of things, that costs you. And that costs you in a bunch of different ways. And it can cost you a lot or it can cost you a little. But either way, there is some type of payment for having that fear. You do not need certainty. One thing that I've learned over the years is that you almost never actually feel fully ready to start something new. Whether that's moving away, changing careers, starting a business, traveling alone, or for me, my most recent thing was actually learning to drive a motorbike. Whatever capacity that is, a scooter, a motorcycle, whatever, anything motorized. Because I've been in Southeast Asia for years. I was there since 2023, and everybody drives, shouldn't say everybody, a lot of people drive a motorbike. And for me, that was a big source of fear. And I actually just was like, no, I'll learn when I'm ready. No, I can't do that. No, like even the first time getting on the back of a motorbike was terrifying for me. But I'm very happy to say that yesterday I had my first motorbike lesson and I tried both things. I tried a motorcycle and I tried a scooter. I'm not great at the motorcycle. There will be more lessons, but I was actually better than I thought at the scooter. And I realized yesterday that there was not as big of a reason as I thought to be afraid of it. Definitely wear a helmet. That's my PSA right now. Wear your helmets, guys. But anyway, I realized I didn't need to be afraid of that. Every chapter that you start before you feel prepared helps you create a more meaningful life. Because the things that help you create a meaningful life is movement. Action creates clarity, experiences create wisdom, doing creates confidence, and waiting rarely creates any of them. What if this is where your next chapter actually begins? Maybe there's been a conversation you've been avoiding, a dream that you've been talking yourself out of, a decision you've been postponing because you're waiting for that fear to disappear. But maybe fear is not the reason to stop. Maybe it's an invitation. Not because a scary decision is necessarily the right decision, but because sometimes those decisions matter more deeply to you. It's completely normal for you to feel vulnerable about following your dreams. Fear doesn't always mean don't. Sometimes it just simply means that that thing actually matters. Your life will never become extraordinary because you eliminated the fear. Your life becomes extraordinary because you stopped letting fear make the decisions. Because every meaningful life is created by making one uncomfortable decision at a time. And one day you will look back at the thing that you were terrified of and realize that that became the beginning of a beautiful new chapter. So this is your reminder that you don't need to have it all figured out. Change doesn't come from rushing it. It comes from paying attention and choosing yourself even in the small ways. Thank you for listening today. This has been another episode of The Inner Launch. And if this resonated with you, please subscribe. Send this to a friend who may need to hear it. And if you'd love to get to know me and work with me, feel free to see how we can do that in the show notes. This has been another episode of The Inner Launch, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye!